On today's show, the San Diego Padres lose in perhaps their most predictable loss of the season so far, because let me tell you folks, the beginning of the season, it threw us off the scent. This team might be fraudulent.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Tuesday, July 1st. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team for almost 6 years now, not just for this podcast, but also various other outlets, including JustBaseball.com, chief among them. Today's episode is brought to you, guys, by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And today, we're getting negative, folks. First, we're recapping yesterday's loss against the Phillies to start off this series. A team that has dominated the Padres for a long time now. Didn't go great. And then we're going to be talking about the Padres' inability to play well against really good teams so far this season. And then we're concluding with a little bit of talk about this Padres offense just does not have any pop whatsoever. I'm going to explain why. And yeah, so we're getting negative on today's episode. And not all of you will like that. Not all of you will like that. And if you don't like it, you can let me know your thoughts on today's episode and anything else, questions, comments, or concerns, where I am on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Let's get to it, guys. The Padres lost yesterday's game by a final score of 4-0. Frankly, if this wasn't my job, I would leave it at that. I'd be like, that's it. I put out a tweet, say they stunk. That was it. And I really do think that this was the most predictable loss of the year, and that's what's so frustrating about it, right? And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, the reason I think that this was super predictable is that it's the Phillies, and that is a team that they have struggled with all year. And not all year, for all the years, I should say. Since 2020, this is a team that has dominated them. This is a team that beat them in the NLCS in 2022. They just can't play against the Phillies. They kind of got our number, right? Every team has a team that's kind of their arch nemesis, right? That for some reason manages to beat them. It's common. It's okay. The Phillies, their arch nemesis is the Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks are a team that we usually do well against, right? So that's not a thing. That's not the only reason why we have to complain about the Padres, right? The other reason is that Matt Waldron was making his first start back from the IL. So that's not great. And then what else? Zach Wheeler was probably the fourth thing, right? And Zach Wheeler has been awesome this year. But let me tell you, this is just such a good pitcher that you knew this Padres offense was not going to show up. You just knew it because they haven't been showing up for a while now. Basically, all you got to know is that Matt Waldron, he tried his best, right? 4 2/3. He gives up 4 earned runs on 3 Ks, 6 hits, 6 walks. I phrased that weirdly, but 6 walks in this outing. Look, I actually don't think he looked terrible. He threw the knuckleball a lot. It looks like he kind of just went with what he's most comfortable with. He threw that 77 times. He did generate 5 whiffs, which is okay. It had a decent amount of break. It was fine, but it was just his first start back. And frankly, I don't want to always give guys just a total cop-out because it was their first start back, but it is true in this case, and I think he fell apart in one inning in particular, right? And that I think that's worth bringing up. In the bottom of the 4th inning, just a lot of stuff doesn't go his way, right? He had a hesitation covering first on a smoke shot to Arise, and that let a runner get on. And then there was a stolen base by Brandon Marsh in which he matrixed his way out of getting tagged, right? Then there was a wild pitch, and then he was, you know what I mean? Like, there was just a lot of things that went wrong that inning. And all in all, yes, the Castellanos home run too. It wasn't a great start, don't get me wrong. But it's his first start back, and I really just think that things unraveled. He looked a little bit nervous at times. So I'm not freaking out about Waldron. And also because he's just a depth piece. This is a guy that's just supposed to help out the rotation and just do his job. He didn't today, but it's a really good Phillies offense, so I'm not blaming them too much, right? But let me tell you, it's amazing how predictable it was for all the reasons that I mentioned before. The only nice positives that we can say is there was a fun little Rise catch, right? At first, diving catch that turns into a double play. Then it gets undone because the very next inning, a line out by Trent Brooks, who then it doubles up Bogarts. Right? But I guess the only 2 positives was a great catch by Jackson Merrill, which I guess goes against what I was just saying about how Matt Waldron basically only had one bad inning that just got away from him. Giant leaping catch over the wall, grabs it, awesome from Jackson Merrill, still an amazing center fielder, and still someone that I'm really happy is a Padre, and I'm really happy about his future going forward, right? Like, this is a guy who has a lot of potential and has been playing really good defense, even if the bat has been a little bit inconsistent as of late. And then there's Xander Bogaerts. Nice game for him, 3 for 4 with a double. Love to see that. It's his second straight game with 3 hits. And as Padres Data Daily on Twitter posted, good account, by the way, if you just want some fun Padres stats, Xander Bogaerts, he had 2 hits against pitches 95 plus miles per hour. And it was the first time this season where he had 2 plus hits in games against pitches 95 miles per hour or harder. So that's just like a little, Bogaerts has been having a regression to the mean. And I know that isn't great to say this, but yeah, we are kind of celebrating the fact that he just has finally an OPS above 700, right? We still need more from the guy, obviously. This is still a contract that I think is going to hinder the team for a long time, but I still maintain my belief that there's a world in which he just becomes at least an above average player again, maybe with a few tweaks. That was a weird word. A few tweaks to his swing mechanics. But it's pretty rough, especially when across the field from him is Trey Turner, who wasn't great his first year, by the way. Nobody talks about that. Was really disastrous. But he has been clearly a lot better as a player than Xander Bogaerts. So it's unfortunate as he turned down extra money from the Padres, I believe, back in the 2023 offseason. So that stinks. And then there was Jackson Merrill, just having a really bad at-bat that I want to talk about really quickly. Because, yes, he had that great catch, but he goes 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts in this one, and barely swung at anything in the zone. Zach Wheeler just had his number. We could dismiss it as that. But this does bring back my complaints / critiques / worries and devil's advocate approach to the Jackson Merrill contract and extension, which is that when you don't walk, it's harder to produce. It just is. And that's something that he struggles with. Now, his walk rate is up this year. That is worth bringing up. But he can be a little bit aggressive at the plate sometimes, which makes him a batter that it doesn't surprise me when he has moments like this. And we're going to talk about that at bat and procedure that he went through, as well as the Padres' inability to play well against teams that are very good in just a second, guys. But first, we got to take a break to talk about one of our sponsors. And do you know what that sponsor is? It's one you've heard before on my everydayers. It's a great one, too. Speaking of money and contracts and all that stuff, if you ever have been there just wishing your money felt easier to manage, well, Monarch Money, it can help you do that. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can check all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. It's great. It's great. It's very good. All of your specific categories that you want to nail down. What are you spending too much on? Me, it's sometimes takeout and just random subscriptions I didn't know I had. They'll help you out with that. It's great. And they give you all sorts of insights too. So check it out. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Go on and check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing in spite of it all. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPANO. Just send me questions that we will answer on the show. And I'm actually starting, because of the way we've been formatting the show lately, my everydayers would know this, I might start doing more questions, answering them throughout the week instead of just on Mondays, just to spread it out a little bit more. You know what I mean? Keep everybody on their feet. You know what I mean? That's how we roll here. But want to talk really quickly. I mentioned Jackson Merrill. The at-bats that he had were horrific last night. His first at-bat, 3 swings on pitches above the strike zone, middle, above the strike zone. And then he struck out on a pitch in the dirt. Second at-bat, first pitch fly out, high and outside. And then third at bat, first pitch he fouled that was inside. The second pitch was a ball. And then the third pitch, it was a swinging strike on a pitch that was closer to hitting him than the strike zone. The fourth pitch, swinging strike outside the zone. And then the fourth at bat, a swinging strike on a curveball in the dirt. Then there was a ball inside that was closer to hitting him than being on the plate. Thankfully, he did swing at it. Then he fouled on a pitch high and outside, and then strikeout on a pitch high and outside. Like, basically there was only like one pitch that he had this entire game that was somewhat in the zone that he swung at. He could be aggressive. And look, he's a second-year player. I'm just saying, I almost don't want to get super mad at Jackson Merrill if he doesn't produce, right? Because this is still a second-year player and still a player who showed you his big flaw, which is that, he swings at everything, and he is really great at making contact. Don't get me wrong, that's what makes up for it, the contact skills and the power, and he can elevate a little bit. But it's also true that he doesn't walk as much as you would like, although he has shown improvements this year, like I said, about a 4% walk rate last year, 7% this year. And I think that, while, yes, he hasn't been hitting for much power, it's also true that this was something that was expected. Right, Jackson Merrill was a player that hit into and got into his power a lot last year, but one thing I was worried about was a lot of it came in the second half. And you might be able to say, did he just have an amazing stretch? Which is possible, right? Definitely possible. Good player, still an above average player for sure, but it's just a little bit of a critique. Let's talk about the Padres' biggest problem, though, and that is the fact that they can't play against good teams. And it's not just the Phillies. I said at the beginning of the month of June, right? We are now in July, that this month was going to be a huge test because they were going to play nothing but good teams this month, basically, right? You start off with San Francisco, where you split. Okay, that's not bad. Then you played Milwaukee, and you won that series, 2-1. That was great. Then you lost to the Dodgers, then you lost to the D-backs, then you lost 3 of 4 to the Dodgers, then you beat the Royals, which isn't a great team, and then you beat the Nationals, that's cool, then you lost to the Reds, right? And then you just lost his first game to Philly, and I'm not feeling great going forward, considering that they have Christopher Sanchez on the mound for what will be today's game by the time everybody's watching this, Tuesday, July 1st, and he's a lefty, and the Padres have really struggled against lefties. So I'm not saying that they are dreadful this month. It wasn't the absolute worst, but they have been far from very good, right? Those D-backs and Dodgers series really torpedoed the momentum for this team. And all in all, on the season, they have a 15-29 record against teams above 500. That's quite bad. And it's not just bad for the Padres, it's bad in general. Other teams that are like playoff contenders, their record, let's start with the National League, against teams above 500, right? The Chicago Cubs, 23-26, not the best, right? Milwaukee Brewers, 21-20. St. Louis Cardinals, 20-23. Again, nothing insane. Reds, 18-23. Then you look at the Mets, 20-15. You look at the Phillies, 20-21. Atlanta Braves, 20-28. I don't know if I'd count them, actually. Yeah, the Braves, but we might have to put them then. Dodgers, 20-16. Giants, 21-17. D-backs, 23-27. Then Padres, 15-29. They have been bad against good teams. Straight up. They are one of the worst teams in baseball against good teams. Also, I didn't bring up the American League results, but the American League, basically the same thing. Right, that's also a division, right? Like if you look at Tampa, they've been really good against teams above 500. Detroit has been good. Astros, the Angels are 20-20 against them, right? So again, I'm naming a lot of random teams, but basically what I'm saying is this. While the devil's advocate approach is that we've played more games because of this month against above 500 teams, and if the schedule gets lighter, we can amend that, they do not look like they're in the same level as a lot of good teams. And they felt like they were when they played last year, right? There's this feeling that keeps coming up to me that last year really was the chance. It just keeps reeling into my brain. That last year, that was truly a great team that got better because of the deadline. Their bullpen was completely fixed, and they had the starters to go for it. The offense was crazy. You got some miracle seasons out of Jerickson Profar and Kyle Higashioka, and then another solid one from a guy you picked up off the scrap heap and Donovan Solano. So it's been rough, and I am wondering, is that the sign of a team that should be going for it? In my opinion, it's the sign that this is a team that you shouldn't be going all in on. That it's still a contender, but it's more of a contender for playoffs rather than as a contender for a championship. Unless something crazy were to happen, I just don't see how you beat the Dodgers in the playoffs unless the Dodgers were to explode, which is why you still got to go for it, right? It's totally possible that the Dodgers just lose first round. Remember, that's what they were known for every single year prior to a shortened season and prior to spending $1.5 billion, right? So that is what they are known for. Again, I'm coping, but what do you want from me? It's not great right now. But again, they have played more games against above 500 teams than almost anybody else. And things will probably get easier, right? If you look at the schedule of July, things get a little bit easier. Not amazing, but a little bit easier. They've got this series against the Phillies. Then they've got the Rangers, who have been struggling a lot this year. They can't hit. Then they've got 4 against Arizona, and that's going to be huge. Then 3 against Philly. Then things get very, very interesting. They get a series against the Nationals and a series against the Marlins and a series against the Cardinals, who I know they have a good record, but I don't know if they know what they are. And then they close out against the Mets to close out July, including a game on my birthday against the Mets. So I might have to go to that one. Wait, is it in New York? No, it's versus New York. Dang it. My bad. So again, this has been brought up a lot, but it is just worth repeating. Like, this is a Padres team that really looks outclassed sometimes, man, when they play good teams. But as long as you're just better in theory than just the other wild card teams, that's how you should be measuring the Padres right now in terms of just making the playoffs. Can they be better, in my opinion, than the Mets? That's close because that lineup's good and I think their pitching's good enough. The Brewers, yes, I think they can be better than the Brewers. Cardinals, I think they can be better than the Cardinals because I think the Cardinals probably might sell. I don't know if they're going to sell, actually. That's a weird team. I'm basing that almost entirely off of their GM, who was brought in for the Red Sox and traded bookie bets and all that stuff, right? The Giants, I don't know. In fairness, the Giants have a lot of like walk-off close win games out of nowhere, so I don't know. Reds, I think they could be a little bit better than the Reds, but they're getting scary because they're getting healthy, as we talked about on Friday's episode with my guy Stephen Offmager. And then the D-backs, I think they're better than the D-backs. So it's a little bit split. This whole segment has been me telling you a whole lot of data and a whole lot of no predictions, but that's just how I feel about this team. I feel like the magic isn't there right now, but it's also true that we're just getting to July. This team last year was hovering around 500, right? So, like, it's totally possible that things can be saved and salvaged, especially when you look at some of the superstars on this team that are underperforming. Superstars like Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr., who we're going to talk about in the final segment of this show, guys. But first, one more word from one more of our sponsors. And that sponsor is the one that you heard at the top of the show. And it's because they are the top dog when it comes to getting your summer sport gambling swing. What can I say? Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, the ball on the court, whatever it is, if you're watching women's basketball, if you're watching tennis, whatever it is, right? Is there tennis? I assume there is. Whatever. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet every single day. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events, whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or just some letting it ride in the ninth inning in a live bet. They've got you covered. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets back if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Go check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here thriving and vibing in spite of it all here on the Locked On Padres podcast. Again, follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, if you would like to reach out with any questions, comments, or concerns. And speaking of concerns, guys, the Padres' biggest problem, in my opinion, look, and frankly, I should be talking about this more. And I think that it's a problem that every player that I'm going to talk about, both players, Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr., kind of deserve their own segment, right? Like, we're going to do that throughout the week and throughout the coming weeks, unless things get better. But the Padres' big problem, I think, is something that we got a little bit of a sneak peek about prior to the season. Do you guys remember when, give me a second, Yuli Gurriel was on this team? Yeah, I don't remember that. Remember that, like, fiasco of, like, guy who hasn't been good in 3 years, who also made a racist gesture towards one of your pitchers, and also, again, is just bad, and also was bad for a while, and kept getting at bats? No idea what the Yuli Gurriel thing is. It's gonna be something we all laugh about at the bar, right? Like, remember when they did that? I remember one of the things that was written about in The Athletic, and potentially by AJ Cassavell of MLB.com. Those are usually my go-tos, for those who don't know. I remember they were writing about how one of the reasons they preferred Yuli Gurriel was because they like a low strikeout, good on base, and good defensive players, right? That is a philosophy that I think is worth bringing up, because this is a team that can have a good batting average. There's no doubt about that, right? But what have we seen in terms of the season? I'm not talking about playoffs. I'm not talking about in a vacuum. But what I've seen over the course of following baseball is that batting average is the stat for a season that matters the least, a little bit, right? We have to get into the playoffs, right? You like to have guys that can just get hits. I understand that. but they're 16th in batting average, so that hasn't been the best, right? But for me, it's the slugging, guys. And the fact that the Padres weren't prioritizing slugging, or at least seem to not be based on what I just mentioned before the season, one of the reasons they picked Yuli Gurriel, it's a problem. They are 26th in home runs, and they are 23rd in slugging percentage. And a big part of that, dare I say the biggest part of that, yes, it has been Xander Bogaerts, who, yes, he's starting to hit some doubles. He hit a home run over the weekend. I get that. But it has also been Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. They have slugging percentages below 400 over their last 30 games. That's bad. Right? Now, Jackson Merrill, I mentioned in the previous segment, a little bit understandable as a prospect. He was a little bit kind of viewed as one of those guys where, yeah, the power could come, but it's going to take some time. And he shocked the world, right? He shocked the world. But a lot of that was in the second half, and it's just worth bringing up. Maybe he's hitting that sophomore slump in this one area. Frankly, I love that in a vacuum. I love that it's like, okay, sophomore slump, but you're still a good player. It's just that maybe the power isn't quite totally there for you. But him and Tatis both are really hurting this team. This is a lineup that is being carried by Manny Machado, right? And Gavin Sheets is slugging better than Fernando Tatis Jr. Gavin Sheets has more home runs when they need it, with the exception of April, right? Than Tatis has had in a long time, right? The last big home run he had was that walk-off hit, and then the 3-run against, who was it? Was it the National Series? I'm blanking. Was it Washington or Kansas City? I forgot who it was that they faced. I think it was Kansas City. That it kind of like put them ahead permanently. I forgot which game it was. With D-backs? I don't know. But otherwise, I don't know what it is. But Tatis, these mechanical changes he made did work to a degree, right? And I don't want to dive totally deep into Tatis. We're going to save that for another time. But he's not pulling the ball in the air nearly as much as he usually does. And he's also putting the ball on the ground, despite the fact that, yes, it has worked with his plate discipline, right? His walk rate this year is 11.3%, and his strikeout rate is down to 17.2. That's good. But overall, he's just not doing enough. And I don't know if it's mental. And I know some people will bring up, well, he's getting unlucky. Look at his baseball savant. I get that. But at some point, it does matter that we've had now 3 straight years where his expected weighted on base is a lot higher than his weighted on base. To me, that says there is more than just numbers at play here, right? You have one season where you get a little bit unlucky with the batted ball. That's understandable, right? And I brought this up back in 2021 when he first came back. I'm sorry, in 2023 when he first came back. Oh, okay. Well, hey, I mean, come on. 332 weighted on base, and he had a 364 expected. Then the year after, 359 weighted on base, 387 expected. And then this year, 347 and 384 expected. I understand that probably means, yes, something like the batting average will go up, right? I think he's probably like a, 270 hitter at worst. 270, maybe 280, maybe, right? Maybe. But there is something clearly about him that is off. And he's still a great player. But this is more of a conversation about whether Tatis is a superstar. That is what I think is happening here. But all in all, that's what I've noticed about this team. And I think that little anecdote I was telling you about how they are targeting these low strikeout guys, I think that tells me they just don't know what they're doing on offense. One of the reasons heading into the year I was so upset about Gurriel was this team has not proven that they know how to build out a lineup and put together surprising contributors the same way they have for pitching. For pitching, I'm like, oh, they're going to put Randy Vasquez as a starter? Not something I agreed with, but okay, fine. Right? Oh, Ryan Burgert? Oh, he's going to be a starter. Okay, fine. I trust Ruben Niebla and what they've done with starting pitching. They found Lugo. They found Waka. You know what I mean? They turned Dylan Cease. He stinks this year for whatever reason, right? But last year, he was fantastic. He lowered his walk rate, right? Blake Snell won a Cy Young with this team. Right as soon as Ruben Niebla was like, look, I got you, bro. Here's what we're going to do. They have turned a lot of unexpected guys into quality pitchers, and they've survived despite the fact that they don't have pitching prospects. But when it comes to hitting, from the Mitch Morelands to the Adam Frazier's to the Josh Bells and Brandon Drury's, and to even an extent Juan Soto, slight extent, this is a team that just, I don't think they know how to build out an offense that is going to help you win enough regular season games. Last year, you had the mirage of Jurickson Profar, right? And Kyle Higashioka. Guys, Hickey last year hit into so much power. Right, like this cannot be understated. Like Kyle Higashioka was obscene last year, right? 104 WRC plus, but he hit 17 home runs in 84 games. Like, he was just slugging. He slugged 476 last year. Like, that helps. Home runs matter. And I know that the old heads, right? They're like, no, I just want my clean and meat and potatoes guy. We love the big sluggers, but I like meat and potatoes. No, man, for the regular season, you need power. There's a reason why the Yankees, and they have a problem. But as someone who's a resident of the metropolitan area, I can tell you a lot of fans get annoyed because they're like, all we try to do is hit home runs. But guess what? It consistently makes them good in that division and makes them for the playoffs. They have a problem of relying too much on it, though, because they build their team with too many lefties to take advantage of the short port at Yankee Stadium, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they come to playoffs, they can't do it as much. But they've made a World Series, and they've done well that way. Tinkering your lineup to power isn't the be-all and end-all. I'm not saying it solves everything. But I just think that it shows you, man, maybe the hitting coach. Do we need a new hitting coach? Is our guy Vic? Is he not the one? I think it's at least worth bringing this up, right? I think it's at least worth bringing up that factor because it is killing them right now. The number of Manny solo shots that he has, and that's not blaming him, but I really hate that when Tatis and Merrill are up, I'm just not excited. I'm not. And it's bad. And I will say, though, the only thing that I think should go against in favor of the Padres is I don't like the lineup last night. Why is Machado batting second and then Merrill third and Tatis fourth? Didn't like that. But at the same time, I do respect that at least Schilt is trying things. But, folks, that about does it for today's episode, the negativity episode of the Locked On Padres podcast. Remember, you can reach out to me on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Tomorrow, we're going to have another guest from CBS 8 Sports to talk about the game, talk about a whole bunch of other topics. It's going to be fun. I won't reveal his name. It's going to be a surprise. But it's going to be a lot of fun, guys, getting that little inside sort of peek into what the Padres clubhouse has been like and much more. So stay tuned for that. And until that next time, stay safe and, of course, stay faithful. My Fire Faithful homies, take care.